It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 316. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hello.
Hello.
Warning everybody right now, she's tired and grabby.
Well, not everybody got a nap. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know what you're talking. That was show prep.
That was show prep?
That's what that is.
Explain to me how that was show prep.
Now I'm all prepared. So, ta-da.
So you weren't prepared before you fell asleep?
Correct.
So how does sleep prepare you for this?
Angelo says you have to take rest days.
Angelo.
Those are
Wow.
important.
Wow. Wow. All right.
You're
Well.
about to see how crabby she is. So, what, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
Stuff about Peloton.
Stuff about Peloton.
Yeah.
Okay. I will take stuff about Peloton for 200.
No, okay. Well, do you want to know the specific stuff about Peloton?
Sure.
All right. Well, we're apparently going to be streaming on all of our equipment. And by streaming, I don't mean a pee joke, Tom. I feel like that was coming next. So I mean Amazon or YouTube, maybe other
Third-party
things.
streaming platforms.
Yes. Also, Lanebreak for the Tread officially launched. Plus, we have a whole bunch of other updates. We also have a visit from Dr. Jenn, and we talk about a listener whose wife is using him as a human garbage disposal. And then we also...
Dr. Jenn After Dark? Is
No.
this a fetish thing?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. We also have a visit from Angelo at MetPro.
Heard of him.
And
He
we're
suggests rest days. I don't know if you know that or not.
Oh, well, I mean, apparently.
Very important.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about how you can determine what your ideal weight is. Not to mention, we also have a bunch of news on Peloton competitors and a bunch of things that you need to know going into the 4th of July weekend.
Okay. And we will also this week be talking to Scott Jenkins.
Oh, yeah. He is so funny. Oh, my God. That interview was hilarious.
And he's a very avid runner.
Yeah. And he's a British runner. So
he runs on the left side of the road.
he also is going to be running with Susie Chan. They run together, but like from time to time. They know each other from the running social circle there in the UK.
From the upper tier running circle.
Yeah, like Scott Jenkins is like, oh, I'm not an elite runner. Well, I think that if you run 3 200-mile events within 90 days,
Yes.
we're going to go ahead and call you an elite runner. So
Apparently, I think part of being a runner is telling people that you're not a runner.
I think that's true.
And so by
That's
that
true.
standard, I am very much a runner.
No, you're really not a runner.
But the
Oh,
runners
I
tell you
see.
they're not runners.
Yeah, I got it.
Therefore, I am a runner.
You are a runner. That's
Because
true.
I don't do it at all. Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find podcasts, you can find us. Not Stitcher. That one's going away.
Stitcher, bye-bye.
Yes. So if you're using the Stitcher app, if you're
And that's not us. Like Stitcher's just no more.
Stitcher
in case you
itself
miss the news.
is going away. So
Yeah.
if you are listening on the Stitcher app, you need to have a backup plan for your podcast.
Head over to Good Pods.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, but anyway, while you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's super helpful. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. You can also find us on YouTube, youtube.com/theclipout, where you can watch these episodes in HD magnificence or mediocrity, depending on which one of us you're looking at. And you can, what?
I was just thinking of people's nasty comments.
Yeah. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/theclipout, where you can get these episodes ad free. If we get them early, you get them early. Sometimes you're getting them almost a full day in advance. So you can use those to wager with your non-Patreon subscribing friends and make a little extra money.
It's true.
You can just make back the cost of your Patreon. Boom, just like that. And finally, we have a newsletter at theclipout.com, where you can get all of the links and things like that sent to you on a mostly weekly basis, unless I'm traveling and get lazy. So
True.
There's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Peloton in the news.
So it would appear that in the not too distant future, way deep in space 13, you will be able to stream things like YouTube, Amazon Prime, maybe Netflix on your Peloton screen devices.
Yes, that is true. So what we know for sure is that a beta test is in progress. It's happening. What we also know is there are no licensing agreements in place, so anything could change.
Yes.
But I think a big thing we don't know the answer to, and I can't wait to find out, is will you be able to get it on all versions of the equipment? And what I mean by that is, if you go back to the early days, those monitors have changed over the years. So like if you still have an old monitor, are you going to be able to use this entertainment icon?
My guess would be no. I think the bigger question is, at what point in the evolution of the screens will you be able to start streaming third-party services?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Also, we just want to say why we think we have heard rumor that there is another streaming service coming besides Amazon and YouTube. Now, the reason that we are theorizing Netflix could be in the running is because of Barry McCarthy's obvious Netflix history.
Right. I mean, he's former CEO of the company, so you think that would be like one phone call, boom, bam, bing, you're done. Also, that seems to be the one that gets requested the most. So if you were going to go down that road, I mean, I guess it does make sense that Prime Video is instantly in the mix because they sell a lot of stuff on Amazon now.
They do.
So that makes sense. So I guess the other thing to kind of talk about is the cultural shift. For years, the whole thought process
This is a big one.
has been that our instructors are the product and you shouldn't be wasting your time watching the YouTubes or Amazon Prime Video, things, Netflix, things like that. People come for the instructors and we want them to stick around for the instructors.
Yep.
So this is a very big shift from a strategy standpoint.
It sure is. Now, I will say there are households that have snubbed their nose at Peloton because, for whatever reason that I will never understand, they have this giant screen in front of them and they want to watch Netflix. So if that's the case, they've been like, well, if I can't watch it on my screen,
right,
then I don't want it. And they have gone to other I've seen this happen with treadmills, especially.
Right.
To me, this has never been a big deal. I love the fact that Peloton engages me. Like, I don't need any of these things.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who very much feel differently about it. And if you have two people in a household, one of which is a huge Peloton fan, one of which is a huge, I like to just pedal slowly while I look at something. I mean, it's a great way to bring both into the mix. Now, we know that Peloton's really big push right now is to get to like a bazillion subscribers.
Right.
This is one of the ways you do that.
Yeah, I think, I can't help but think that part of the thought process is, I mean, one, there's been a shift in leadership.
For sure.
But also, that they're thinking, okay, well, if we're going to try and become software based, then if people want the instructors, they're there. And if they want something else, we're not going to stop them from buying a piece of equipment over it.
Yeah.
And for years, people have said that. Why wouldn't you let me do this? It's my equipment. I can use it however I want. That seems short-sighted. And I don't know, maybe it's a thing that at the time made sense and now it doesn't. Now that they're kind of the name brand in this field, maybe it's not a hill they need to die on anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's it's another way that Peloton can meet you wherever you are. And if you truly want to democratize fitness, if that's and even if you don't want to democratize it, even if you just want to be everywhere, the less barriers you put up for people,
right,
then the more chance you have of them getting your product. So I think that from a growing subscriber standpoint, this makes total sense.
And you could see a situation where someone comes for the Netflix and stays for the Cody Rigsby, right?
I mean, I don't know how that doesn't happen.
Like, since it's right there in front of them, because also I don't get why you would pay $45 a month, whatever it is now, to then just turn around and watch Netflix.
I mean, I wouldn't but I wouldn't do it anyway. Like if I'm going to get on the bike or the tread, I want to be engaged. I want somebody to be there with me. And so like I don't push I know what the gym was like. Whenever I went to the gym, I just did it at this like slow, boring pace.
I think it makes less sense for the bike than it does for the tread.
I would agree.
Because I think a lot of people do like, I just want to get on the treadmill and listen to a podcast or just walk or I can get my jog going. I don't necessarily need to have direction in the same way you do on a spin bike.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
It makes absolutely no sense on a rower.
I think the important thing though is that this ends up meaning that it's going to open so many different kinds of content onto a Peloton platform that it was not intended for.
Like us.
We're going to be there right in front of you.
You don't need to clip out anymore to listen to the clip out.
Now you can clip in.
So we're changing the name of the show to the clip in or out or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's going to be a little longer. It's going to be harder to put on a logo.
It's going to make it harder for the theme song to rhyme. But
but also there's so many YouTube workouts, like many. I mean, again, I would not use them. Like, why would I pay $50 a month
for sure?
But like there are people that will. Like, I know that. I will say for people who are super into like, I got to have my marathon training. It's got to tell me exactly what to do for 6 hours while I run, and that's because it would take me that long to run that many miles. I guess it's a good way to do that.
So here's the question. Will you still be able to access Netflix or YouTube if you're not paying for membership?
I don't think that you can. Because the way that it's being described to me is it is an entertainment icon within the Peloton
ecosystem platform.
Yes, it's inside the platform. So if you don't have the software, if you're not paying for the software, then you wouldn't be able to log in. Then you can't get to it.
Therefore...
So, but then people just jailbreak. That's what they've always done.
Yeah, but if you're going to jailbreak, then none of this ever mattered.
That is so true.
Right. So
But now you don't have to jailbreak. So there's that.
Yes.
If you are already paying.
If you're already subscribing. And there probably will be households where the husband wants one thing and the wife wants another or vice versa.
Yeah.
Although we all know it's probably the husband that wants to watch Netflix versus the wife.
He's probably watching like basketball or something.
Yeah. Jerk. But I guess also I think what we'll see is you will start seeing, now that you can watch TV on your Peloton device, they'll start merging it and you will see Peloton-based TV shows.
You do?
I do. Would you like to know some titles
I would.
Of TV shows that I think you can look forward to?
All right, bring it.
Here we go.
Right.
Jess, King of Queens.
Okay.
Aditi 5-0. Make Room for Cody. Emma Loveboatwell, Jen Sherman, and Peabody. I got a million of these. I can do this all day long. 8 simple Jocelyn Thompson rules for dating my teenage daughter. Who's the Ross? Twilight Our Zone. I got a little theme here. Adrian of Genie. That one's a bit of a stretch.
That's a stretch.
Leanne Haynes Bewitched. Tunde at a Time. Everybody Loves Ramon. Did I do Maddie About You? I don't know if I've done that one yet. I have so many here. Ademi 12.
Wait,
that
what?
Ademi 12. It reads funnier.
I don't know that.
Adam
I don't even.
12.
Oh.
Some of these are old.
Okay.
You gotta remember how old I am.
Like Benny Adami? Is that what
Yeah.
you're trying to say? Adami 12?
Adam 12. Like I said, that one reads
okay,
funny. We'll take that one out in post.
All right, get it out.
Sure. Yo Jack. Or Yo MTV Raps.
Oh, I like that one better.
Yeah. Andy Spear Factor. The Fresh Prince of Will Pears. Breaking Rad. And the Bex Files.
The Bex Files.
And she's going to take that one. She's like, oh, if I have a thing, I'm calling it the Bex Files. That's great. Also, former instructor Oliver Lee has 2 shows in the works.
Oh, no, Tom, no.
Candid Camera. And, of course, say it with me, everybody, Different Strokes.
Oh,
So you have all that to look forward to
it's going to be quite the lineup.
as you stream shows coming this fall to Peloton, BC.
Oh, my.
Peloton Studios in London is getting a major makeover.
Yeah, they are. So even though it only opened...
I know, it's so new.
It is so new. But remember how much everything has changed, right? So originally the new store was supposed to open like all the way back in 2020.
Right.
And then the world changed.
Yeah,
and then
heard about it.
Yeah. And then it got put off all the way until they opened the New York studios back up to people.
Right.
And so now it's being reopened. And what they're going to do is they're going to do a big makeover, and they're going to make it much more similar to the experience that New York has. Now,
Okay.
a lot of people have been talking about this, like, what does that mean? It seems this is more about the virtual experience. This isn't going to change very much for the members in the studio, but for at home, it's going to change the experience. So during this time, which is not insignificant, it will be August 7th through September 22nd, the studio will be closed to members. So my understanding is the lobby and the studio will not be open. However, you're not going to be not having content. They're still going to be creating content. They're still going to be dropping content. And they have taken care of somehow AFO and Peloton on tour. The biggest takeaway from this is that you will not be able to schedule classes to take in person.
Because they won't be there.
They won't be there, but everyone's still not going to hear this. So please, for the love of God, let's all pitch in. And when we see those why can't I book classes,
Share this article with
share
them.
this article. It's perfect. Yeah. That's why you can't book a class in PSL.
There's a good answer.
Yeah. So hopefully you weren't planning on going because oopsie, not going to happen.
And if you do plan on going anyway, bring a hard hat and a hammer.
See if you can fight your way in.
Yeah. They could use your help. So last week we broke the news about Lanebreak heading to the Tread, and now we have even more information.
Yeah, so it is released this week. I mean today,
Right.
But okay, so we have definitely confirmed at this point we're only going to see it on Tread, not Tread Plus, because it does do auto incline on the hill. So
Okay.
that's why it is only for the Tread. I still, like we talked about last week, I suspect that we will see this after the recall period is
All
over.
the CPSC stuff is resolved and in our rear view mirror.
Yes.
Yes.
So we got a long wait. I'm not going to lie. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But let's just remember this, fellow Tread Plusians. This is very important.
The few, the proud, the stubborn.
Our treads are better. And
Dang, shots fired. Although they should be. They charged you more for them.
exactly. It says plus in the name.
Right.
It goes up to
Maybe
15%.
they were fat-shaming that tread.
It goes up to 15%.
Yes.
We've got free mode, even though it's never programmed anymore. And we've got the slats. Most importantly, the slats. So just when you feel sad about Lanebreak, just remember your slats, okay? And it'll come eventually.
Okay.
Got to be patient. But for those of you who do have it, this is going to be really cool because they took all of the things on the bike and they totally redid it. They changed how it looks completely, the mechanic for Lanebreak Tread. So it's going to be easier to see the changes as you're walking, running, or jogging. And we also have confirmed that they did give this very, very wide pace-based difficulty option so that you can use it for walking, jogging, or running. We also know that if you scroll down just a little bit more, we are going to be able to use the hill. It has the tread adjusts the incline automatically. The tread adjusts its incline automatically, and it follows the curve that's shown on the 3D world displayed on the tablet. That's new. 3D, new. That's new.
Okay.
And then...
yeah, you wear glasses.
No, I don't think it's that 3D. And then also, they have this new mechanic in it that's going to reward you for interval workout design. So you're still going to get your interval workouts just like you do on the bike, which is fantastic. And they made sure to update, again, those visuals and controls with running and walking in mind.
Awesome.
Oh, do we want to talk about the music?
Let's talk about the music.
Okay, so as they launch the Lanebreak, we are going to have pop, electronic, R&B, hip hop, rock, metal, country, and Latin. But most exciting is there are custom levels that are going to be featuring the music of DJ and producer Tiesto, including tracks from his latest album, Drive. So that is very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the little press release had a whole thing from DJ Tiesto. I did not know he was a Peloton user. Now I know.
There we go.
Yeah. Very cool.
Peloton also announced this week yoga focus flow for rowers.
Yeah, so they added these to, right now we have all the cross training for running and tread, but now we are going to be adding focus flow for rowers. And there are already classes there in the collection. So you can find these under the cross training and those yoga for cross training. We have so far Ross, a 20-minute class or 10-minute class with Ross. I'm sorry, I'll get this right.
Who's the Ross?
Who's the Ross? And a 20-minute class with Kira. So lots of cool stuff. And of course, they already have classes for runners in there as well. I think these are really cool. And I'm glad to see that they are making sure to add the cross-training yoga in. It's a really good way to push you to the yoga classes. We should all be doing more yoga. It's good for us. It is.
If you say so.
You need to have this mobility. Like we always talk about, like the fountain of youth is to do strength training as you get older. You have to. But if you don't do the mobility, you can't move. So like if you want to stay young as long as possible, mobility is really important. Strength training, really important. You need to do those two things.
Okay.
Since
the end of COVID, I guess it's over.
I don't know.
I don't know where my mask is anymore.
Nobody worries about it anymore.
I'm assuming it's over.
Yeah.
I don't have a mask and I've had like 9 shots, so I think it's over. So all the stories have been about how Americans are heading back to the gym, and some of them certainly are. But there's an article this week from civicscience.com that says they are, but not as many. People are still more likely to be working out at home.
That is quite a graphic there.
Yes. I like it when things are graphic.
So this is saying that at home, it says how often do you exercise at home versus a gym? And then people say at a home, 52%, and that's like several times a week, versus at a gym several times a week, 42%.
Right.
And then several times a month at home, 25%, versus at a gym, 26%. And then a few times a year at home, 23%, at a gym, 32%. That's interesting. So the people who go less work out at a gym more often.
So the people who, the interesting thing, people that only do it a few times a month, it's almost identical between at home or at a gym. The people that only do it a few times a year, 23% do it at home, where a few times a year, whereas 32% are lying to themselves.
What I take this as, the more often you work out, the more often you work out at home. And like if you're a person who occasionally works out, you might do it more often at a gym, but you're not going to be consistent. So consistency is key. Therefore, work out at home. That's what I read.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this and again, this is so subjective because some people really like the ritual of going to the gym.
They do, and that'll never change.
And that'll never change for them, and that's fine. But I do think that the vast majority of people benefit from having it right at their fingertips. It's an obstacle removed. If you really have a passion for going to the gym, I don't think that that's great. But I think most people, that's a lot to contend with.
It is.
You know, I think, especially if you're just starting, it'll be interesting to see if we see this study again in 5 years or 10 years, if that's changed at all. Because I feel like over time, that working out at home number is only going to get larger, because I think of that 42%, I bet you at least 50 to 60% of those people are people who have been working out at a gym for a long time and they like it and they don't see the need to change. But so many people have trouble taking that first step going into a gym because
they're intimidated.
They're intimidated. They're not comfortable. They feel out of place. They feel like people are going to make fun of them, whether it's because of their size or their lack of knowledge about how to utilize the equipment. And it's just, the whole thing's just weird and awkward. And for guys, there's always that one guy that walks around the locker room just completely with his junk hanging out, like no big deal.
Oh, they're in the women's locker room
You're like,
too.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I promise you, sir.
Yeah.
Put it away.
I think I've told you the story about the shower Nazi. Yeah. That was... No, yeah.
But so I think that over time, you're going to see more. You're going to see this disparity widen, is my guess.
I do think it's interesting looking at the data at the bottom. I don't know if you noticed this, but it says there are 2,000. It's right there, right in the center of the screen. 2,000 responses from 6:15 to 6:21 that's how many for at home. Then for the gym, the responses were 13,000 from May 22 to 6:21. Who did this?
Yeah, that's
kind of bullshit. I think that this disparity would be wider had these been more equal timeframes.
Yeah, that is weird that the groups aren't the same. Like, yeah, I don't know what the logic is there, because maybe they've decided that this is more of a representational proportion of the two groups within society.
I don't know.
That's weird. Also, it's all self-reported data, so you always got to give that side.
Yeah, you do. That's true.
Peloton celebrated Pride in the stores last weekend on the 24th.
They did. All of the stores in Canada and the U.S. Got together and celebrated on the 24th. You could come into the store. You could have colorful Pride donuts. You could have a DIY Pride bag, and a Pride banner. So there was all kinds of really cool stuff.
And they
there.
had donuts.
I already said that.
Oh, sorry. I was really focused on the donuts. It's kind of weird, though. It's like, go to the Peloton store, get yourself a donut. It's counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive. Yeah. Wouldn't know, because we're here in St. Louis. So.
We don't have a store anymore. But that's more and more common. We used to be left out. Actually, now we're probably more included in the group of not having a store.
It's
so does it
true.
make you feel a little better?
No.
Okay.
But thanks.
And coming up after this, we're going to talk to Dr. Jenn. She's going to answer a question from a listener whose wife is using him as a human garbage disposal. She's watching what she eats, so she's making him eat all the stuff and living vicariously through her husband, and he's getting frustrated. So stick around.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jenn Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jenn, or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jenn, or her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jenn Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jenn's 6-Step Guide to Improving Communication, Connection, and Intimacy. It's Dr. Jenn. Hello.
Hi.
And
welcome back.
Yeah, like for our listeners, it might not feel like you've been gone, because you had taped a bunch of stuff before the unfortunate passing of your mother, and this is our first time recording with you
since then. So many of our listeners sent you so much love. I hope you got to see it. We were all like just sending our love and thoughts.
Well, the outpouring was amazing. And, my mom, Cynthia Weil, was really an incredible, not just a great mom and a great grandmother and a great wife, but an incredible lyricist and really an iconic, groundbreaking woman in the music industry. And I'm just really glad to be able to celebrate her and share her legacy with people. And, right now I'm kind of doing my therapy thing, and I'm also overseeing their catalog and getting the word out and sharing their incredible music that my mom wrote with my dad.
She just had a song or featured very prominently in the Barbie trailer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm assuming you signed off on that
she
one.
Absolutely did. I did. I very much did. Yes.
Are you ever?
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Just to try to make you laugh. Do you ever get offers for stuff and you're like, mm-mm?
Yes. Okay. We turned down an offer for a shooting game that involved a lot of violence and killing police officers. We opted against that. And I have accepted some things that you would expect me not to because they involved meat.
Oh,
but then we donated money to do investigation of the factory farming system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, sometimes it's good to fund a good operation.
It is.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good way to offset that. It's like buying the what are those eco credits for the ozone.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it wasn't specifically a meat company, but it was a very well-known organization that does a lot of not great practices with meat. Although this company is doing more vegan and vegetarian options, which is great. So they're not like, for me as a vegan, I was able to kind of walk that line, but was thrilled to be able to give some money to Mercy for Animals. And,
that's good.
And
that is good.
Help the cause.
Yeah.
Good.
Fun fact, towards the end there's a period of time where Shaggy and Scooby-Doo becomes a vegetarian or
really?
Vegan. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Because Casey Kasem, who did the voice for Shaggy until his passing, became a vegan late in life, and he insisted that Shaggy couldn't have any meat sandwiches, and then they got very frustrated because it cost him a deal with Burger King.
Oh,
and then when they shifted to Matthew Lillard because of the movie, they brought it back in. But there is about a 10-year period where you will not see Shaggy eat meat.
That's amazing.
I love that. Yeah. That's a great story.
That is a great story.
I got full of
I know.
stuff,
you got all kinds of stuff in there.
Well, we are glad you were back.
We are. We missed you.
And we wrote an article for the website and shared it just about your mom. And it was great to kind of show people, like, when people say legend, that is not just, this lady passed away and we want to be nice to her.
No.
Like,
both of your parents are just
like
legends.
legit jaw-dropping legends with the things that they like. Yeah.
My mom has won over 112 BMI awards.
Wow.
I wrote You've Lost That Love and Feeling, the most played song ever of the 20th century.
It's literally the most popular song of the 20th century.
Yeah.
It's a great song.
My parents won multiple Grammys. They've been inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They just inducted my mom into the Women's Songwriters Hall of Fame. So, my mom is really an incredible icon, and I'm very proud of her, and I'm very proud to share her music with people. And you can also check out one of my projects. I'm working on their social media. So check out Mannweil, MANNWEIL on Instagram, and follow my parents because there's going to be a lot of fun stuff coming.
Ooh,
awesome.
Yay.
That's good to know. We'll have to include that in the show notes.
Yes, we will. We will.
Because we all know we got juice. Like that'll get you to 1 million right there.
That'll do it.
I thought you said we've got Jews.
No, juice. JUICE. Yes.
We've got you. We've got you.
Jews and Jews.
No, they're not.
Oh, goodness.
Delineated like that. So.
Well, we kind of have a question that might bring the vibe down a little. So warning.
Okay. I'm ready to bring the vibe down. Let's do it.
This is from listener Dennis Clementi. He says that his wife is on a strict diet and uses him as a surrogate eater. He supports her on her diet, but he resents being used as a human garbage can. She is constantly pushing rich and unhealthy food on him.
It's not funny, but it's kind of funny.
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know if he wrote this as a joke. There was no emojis to indicate that it worked, but I've seen people in this situation. So I felt like even if he was, this is still a great discussion.
Yeah, look, I have too, and I've seen done in a lot of different ways. There are times where someone who is very restrictive is they will not finish their food and they can't bear to throw it away. So they try to make another family member eat it. Or there are times where one person's very restrictive and then they are trying to get the family member to eat the foods that they don't allow themselves, and they want to smell it. They want to ask about the taste of it. They want to kind of have a vicarious eating experience. But really the bottom line with this is that the person who is restricting way too much. If you're creating this dynamic in your family, in your relationship, you need to allow yourself to eat some of your forbidden foods. And to me, this is crossing that line into eating disorder land, that if you are not allowing yourself to eat foods and you're pushing them on someone else so you can have the experience, then you are way too deprived. And it's time to work with a therapist who specializes in eating disorders. It's time to work with a dietitian who has a real understanding of restrictive eating and how unhealthy that can be. And I also think for the spouse, is it Dennis?
Yes.
That for Dennis that wrote, he needs to make boundaries. He needs to not alter his food intake based on what his wife wants him to eat. He needs to be able to eat what he wants and listen to his own body. You know how I am about listening to your body, listening to what it craves, eating what you really want, and not eating because someone else is telling you to eat something or because you should. And I think that this falls under that should category. And I don't want to see him doing this, even though I'm not in their house actually seeing, but this is not good for him and it's not good for their dynamic. And he's actually enabling her eating disorder by doing it. So he needs to make a boundary and say, I'm so sorry, but I can't do this anymore. I need to listen to my own body. And if you're struggling and need me to do this, then we need to get you to therapy or to work with someone who understands eating disorders.
It's like being a cuckold, but for food.
Yeah, it's totally.
Go out and eat that, and then come back here and tell me all about it. Yeah.
Dr. Jenn After Dark.
Yeah. I knew I'd get you there.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of a different topic there, Tom.
Yeah.
And a different form of eating. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, potentially.
Oh my God. Well, thank you. That was good advice.
Yes, thank you so much. So, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, where can people find you?
On all social media at Dr. Jenn Man, 2 N's on Jenn, 2 N's on Man. And I post my Peloton workouts on my stories. And you can see me coming back after the death of my mom and after our crazy 21-mile walk run that we did in Big Sur.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Instructors in the news.
Ben Alldis and Erik Jager are heading to the Big Apple.
They sure are. They're going to be teaching from PSNY in July. So there's going to be classes for on June 10th. There's going to be a 30-minute ride with Ben on July 14th and July 15th. There's going to be 2 separate classes with Erik, and he is going to be teaching both of those in English. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great opportunity for people to see the international instructors in the U.S.
It is. It's a nice change it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex Toussaint has released his first outdoor class.
Yeah, he had been, I don't know if you remember, we talked about this a while back, and he had teased that, like, I know everybody, you've been asking for outdoor classes. So one popped up on June 22nd, and it was a 20-minute power walk, and more have been promised. So there will be more to come.
Awesome. Tunde popped up on a show on PBS, specifically for PBS New Jersey, and it's called A Table for All, an African Homecoming.
Yeah, and they talk about traditional traditions in Nigeria because I believe that they both have Nigerian roots, the host and Tunde. So they talk about that, and they also do some other things in the PBS studio, like a studio tour and an art lesson.
And I guess that only aired on that's made specifically for the New Jersey PBS affiliate, but you can go watch it online. So if you want a link to that, you can just sign up for our newsletter and it will be in this week's batch. Links. Cody Rigsby appeared on the show In Transit. I think it's a web-based show for Esquire magazine, and it's hosted by former MTV personality and St. Louis native Dave Holmes.
Oh, I didn't know he was St. Louis native.
Yeah, he is from St. Louis, and he made it onto MTV. I don't know if you remember, they did years ago in the 90s when they still had music videos. They had a contest called I Want to Be a VJ, or Be a VJ, or you could, and they had it was really, I guess, kind of like a reality show, and they tested, and I forget who won, but it was this weird kind of stoner dude, and he ended up winning, but Dave Holmes came in second. And it was funny because Dave Holmes is so not flashy or MTV, but he just really knew his stuff, and he's super likable, and he came in second. And it tells you a lot about those sorts of shows, in that all these years later, he's the guy who's still working. Yeah. He's the guy you still see popping up in things, and people just liked him so much they found a role for him, even though he didn't win the contest.
Well, that's really cool.
And he's really nice. I spent a day with him one time. Back in my radio days, I worked at the alternative rock station in town called The Point, and he came in town one year and hosted Point Fest.
Oh yeah.
And it was my job to drive him around that day while he was doing and making various appearances.
Now, during this particular day of driving people around, did you get any soda sprayed on your car?
I did not. Okay. Now that I think he hosted the Christmas show, not Point Fest. But yes, and no, I did not get soda sprayed on me. That was Insane Clown Posse.
Okay.
And I was getting him mixed up with, I did the same thing with Point Fest for Matt Pinfield.
Oh.
So, who was also very nice. Oh. It was a stroll down memory lane.
Well, all that to say, Cody's on that show.
Correct. So you can go find that at, at Esquire Magazine's website. It's called In Transit. He interviews people in airport bars.
Oh, okay, cool.
While they are
in transit.
In transit.
I see what he did there.
There you go. Hannah Frankson was on the Quotes by Christie podcast, if you want to get more her.
Yeah, I didn't listen to this, but I will say, the name of this podcast drives me crazy.
What is that?
Because it's not a quote by Christie. It's a quote by Hannah Frankson.
Right.
It's a quote by your guest, not you.
Right.
So unless every guest is named Christie, that's not going to work.
Christie Hannah Frankson. She had to legally change her name in order to appear on the podcast.
That's quite a writer.
And speaking of podcast, Alex Karwoski, am I saying that right?
Sure.
We haven't talked about him all that much.
No, because he's one of the new rowing coaches.
I was gonna I
really love his classes.
I was gonna put him on My Mother the Karwoski, but I thought that show's so obscure nobody would know what I was talking about.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I wouldn't have had any idea. I would have been like, what does that mean?
But he was on Tag Along with a Pro, which is his brother's podcast.
Now, is this the brother that works for Hydro? Or is this another brother? Because I think he has 4 brothers, or there's a total of 4 children.
Gotcha. Well,
maybe there's 4 brothers and a sister, actually.
You're the one who apparently is fixated on him, not me.
He talks during his classes. Mm-hmm. This is how I learn about his family.
So I don't know, but it's called Tag Along with a Pro, and it looks like they always talk to a different, someone who works in the athletic world, and you tag along with them. Yeah. Hence the name.
You could see the family resemblance.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. Pretty cool.
I wonder if he had to go through the press room.
I know. That's what I was wondering. I really was. I was like, do they have to do the thing? I bet they had to do the thing.
So A Runner's World is spotlighting women who have used running to help with their mental health. And one of the women they spotlighted was Selena Samuela.
Well deserved. Well deserved. I really love this. I noticed she did a whole live on what shoes that she does for different kinds of runs too this week. So really doubling down on the shoe thing.
It's also nice that we're seeing some instructors this week that don't make the rounds as frequently.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. It's it's been a lot of the same people over and over. So it's nice to see some of the other instructors get some love.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Emma Lovewell was the keynote speaker at Johnson & Johnson's Global Activity Challenge. I've always wondered about Johnson & Johnson. Do you think that internally they had a fight over which Johnson was named first?
No.
Or did they just call it Johnson & Johnson
so that they didn't have an argument?
Didn't have that fight.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Think that they were the one that went first.
Yes.
And if they're both named Johnson, why didn't they just call the company Johnson's?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they like the name of it, like the sound of it.
You could have done Johnson's and then put the apostrophe on the other side of the S.
Ugh.
Because it's plural.
And then it would never be right. Nobody would ever do it right.
People get it wrong half the time anyway.
That's
so
fair.
it would still be wrong half the time. It would just be wrong for different reasons.
Okay.
Anyway, Emma Lovewell was their keynote speaker
Oh, yeah.
at a thing.
Well, look at that.
So there you go.
Another keynote speaker.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube from MetPro, it's Angelo here to answer all of your fitness and nutrition questions. Hello.
Hi.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back.
We're glad to have you back. Did it seem to you, Angelo, that Tom might have forgotten where you were from? Because it kind of felt like he might have forgotten.
For just a second.
Just a second.
Okay. He said I was here to answer all your fitness questions, and I'm only here to answer most.
He's here to answer every third fitness question.
Maybe every other fitness question.
What you don't see is we answer a question. He's like, no. And he's like, the thing is, here's the thing. He has an answer. He just won't give it to us. Like, he's just like, I've got a great solution for that problem, but I'm not going to tell you.
I'm not going to tell you.
It's just it's a complete power move. It's just peeling back the curtain.
That's Angelo. He is girl bossing.
Yes.
Comes in rare form today.
He is. He had a power nap before this. Lord help us all.
Excellent. I don't know if I can handle power nap, Tom.
I don't do anything with power.
Oh, my word. Okay. So,
Well, thanks for joining us. That's all the time we have.
one of our listeners, Karen Marquez, who also happens to be a MetPro user, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Hey, Aaron.
So you have to answer this one. It's the law.
I have to
you
answer
have
this
to.
one.
The terms and conditions.
So Karen says, Karen,
okay.
how do you know when you're at your ideal weight? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, this is one of the ones I'm not going to answer. Is it okay to say this is a gender thing? Because I got so many guys that I've worked with over the years, and they're like, Johnny's like, Angelo, no, I look good. I'm good here. I'm like, no, Johnny, you need to lose 50 pounds. Like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Like, no, John, you need to lose 50 pounds. And then I have folks, guys, gals, that are like, I'm at the weight that I always wanted to be, but maybe I should be a couple pounds lighter. Maybe I should be a couple pounds heavier. And it's not just one direction, but it's that insatiable, we're never satisfied bit.
Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong. Stay within healthy parameters. You know what I'm talking about when I say healthy parameters, but there is a threshold that I will speak to. And that is, you'll cross a threshold where if you want to lose another 5 pounds, there's nothing wrong with it. But be honest with yourself, what's for health and what's for preference, an aesthetic goal, a sporting goal. So a lot of times someone will say to me, don't I need to lose another 5 pounds? Not to be healthier. But if you want to lose another 5 pounds, let's do it. As long as it's not going to put you at an unhealthy weight, let's do it. Now, here's what you're going to have to do. Now, that's where the metabolic rate comes in. Do we have the leverage? So if somebody says, I want to lose another 5 pounds beyond where I'm at, what your coach is going to do is they're going to calculate where your metabolic rate is. And they're going to give you a no nonsense answer and go, yeah, no problem. Or, well, we can do that, but your metabolic rate means that we're going to have to speed up your metabolism. You're going to have to be really strict for this period. And here's what we're looking for. So it's doable, but it's a matter of just listening to your own body. Now, if somebody's asking, is there a magic BMI? Throw that out the window. It's not a thing anymore. That's where, that was based around the average American's weight in the, don't quote me on this, but I want to say 50s.
And if you're going back to the 50s, I'm going to have to go out on a limb and say it's based on the average American white male's weight.
Yes.
Americans were simply smaller in the 50s. athletes.
Yeah.
We were just smaller as people.
And if you don't believe it, go sit in a Broadway seat.
Yeah, for sure. For real. They're
They
so
haven't
tiny.
changed the chairs there, and it's a tight fit.
It is.
And so, Grant, they had to start somewhere. So they invented this BMI thing, and so or body mass index. So what happens is you get a bunch of people that think they're supposed to be at this way. There are some people where it's applicable to, but it's not taking into consideration your genetic profile. It's not taking into consideration your body type, how much muscle you have on you. So what was, just a simple, straight, healthy, unhealthy answer then doesn't necessarily mean that's true today.
Well, it's funny you say this. I just listened to a whole podcast about the history of the BMI because I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
And they were saying, too, that the guy that invented it was like, don't use this for people. Like, don't use this for an individual person. He's like, this is for the aggregate. Like, this isn't designed for how do I, as one specific human being, measure up.
Whoops.
And then people were like, oh, but numbers.
That's what we do.
But math.
Yeah.
So I need to give Karen something useful to walk away with. So Karen, this is why people come and work with our MetPro coach, because you need to have that conversation with him or her. And if you're my client, by the way, every single client of mine that I have ever worked with in the last 2 decades has asked me, you can put it on the calendar, what should be my ideal weight? And when they asked me that? On day 2.
Yep, at the beginning.
At the beginning. And I give them a real answer. I say, that is a fair question. It is a good question, and it deserves a real answer, which is why you're going to ask me in about 5 weeks. And then I'm going to actually be able to give you a real answer, having all this data on your metabolic rate, how you respond to caloric shifts, macronutrient changes, carbohydrates, exercise, the pace at which you're losing weight, the pace at which we can speed your metabolism, and how fast we've lost said weight. And now I can say, here's an ideal weight for you. Let's work towards that goal. So have that conversation with your coach, Karen. Have that conversation with him or her. She'll help you out.
Awesome. I'm just curious, when you talked about someone who kind of reaches a weight, they've been doing it for a while, they're in a good spot, but they decide that they maybe want to lose another 5 or 10 pounds, whether it's for aesthetic reasons or they trying to win a contest. I don't know. If they've kind of already hit a happy spot where they kind of naturally land comfortably, if they push through to lose that 5 or 10 pounds, how difficult and or realistic is it for them to then maintain it if they hit that number?
Great question. It's a commitment. It can absolutely be done. In fact, quite often clients will come to us specifically at that point. They've already been on either a diet or a program, or they've been exercising and they've made great progress, but now they're at the point where they need some professional help to get that last percent or two, that last few pounds. That's where the math and the science really play a role. So that's where the evaluation piece comes in. Now, assuming someone is at that spot where they've already been eating clean, they're exercising regularly, their body's at a healthy but comfortable body weight, then it's not actually as hard as you'd think to push down a little lighter. That can be done with some leverage. The key is that when you hit that lighter weight, it's not yours yet. It's
You have
not
to earn
yours. So for example, I want to be I'm pulling numbers out of a hat here.
Right.
So I want to be 150 pounds. I'm 157. I want to be 150. Okay. So we put you on a diet to be 150. 3 weeks later, I'm 150. Nope. You don't own that weight yet. It's going to take you another 4 weeks longer of being consistent to own that weight. Because here's what's happened. We've had to push harder to put your body into an environment and circumstance where it has forced it down a few more pounds. Now you have to gradually increase your intake on a calculated fashion to up adjust your metabolism so you don't gain that weight back. Otherwise, the first bad weekend you have, and boom, you're right back to your comfortable weight. Sometimes we refer to that as a set point. So typically when somebody asks me, how long will it take? I want to lose another 5 pounds. Well, losing the next 5 pounds may only take 10 days. But it may take me 2 to 3 weeks beyond that to reset your metabolism so you stay there at that new lower weight. And so that's what we do day in and day out with our clients at MetPro. So that was a great question, Tom.
Ooh.
Awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll try not to do it again. I know I've got a rep to protect. So. Well, thank you so much for all that. Until next time, if people want this sort of stuff tailor-made for them, where can they find you?
Come talk to us at metpro.co/TCO.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Peloton celebrity sightings.
There was a surprise guest this week in studio. Mm-hmm. I'm going to let you say it because I don't know how to say her name.
No clue.
LP
Giobbi?
Giobbi?
Sure.
So
what I do know is that she's a DJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then it should be DJ Giobbi. Giobbi.
Well,
Giobbi.
She was in the class, and she was in a class with Emma Lovewell. It was a 45-minute arms and intervals ride. So she took the class with Emma, and then one of her classes, All in a Dream, which was featuring a whole bunch of people, was featured during the playlist.
Okay.
So, nice little stop in. There was a whole bunch of stuff on Peloton Studio. She did some little dances in front of everybody. I think that's kind of required if you're a DJ. You gotta
do the little fist bump or
but
whatever.
You do it better than like I do it. So yeah.
And you do it better than I do it. So
I don't know. You got your little Caddyshack dance going on.
Like I'm the gopher.
I love the gopher dance.
That's the only thing I know. I got the overbite and everything.
You do not. Stop it.
Checking out the competition.
So the next time somebody tells you that Peloton's in the toilet, you should shove a mirror in their face. Not a real mirror, but those things Lululemon keeps trying to sell people.
Yeah.
They can't give those things away.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
It says they can't sell. This is from Channel News, and it says they can't sell these things even despite a 90% markdown.
Well, they're also like they can't sell the company because remember they're trying to sell and they can't sell the company.
They said they currently have it valued on their books at $58 million. And in 2020, they paid $500 million for it.
I mean, that's got to make you have some stomach acid.
Yeah. Have they changed CEOs? Because I feel like maybe they should.
I mean, Lululemon makes so much money. This is still just kind of like this tiny little drop in the bucket.
Right.
But like, yeah, it's not great.
Buy 2 pair of leggings, get a mirror.
I mean, for real.
I mean, they're getting real close.
It's it also says that like nobody's going to be doing any sales of big companies right now. That's what the article is indicating, that like nothing is. It's not a good time to be selling a company.
Here's my favorite quote from the article from one fitness insider.
Okay.
The reality is that the mirror is just a large screen. It's just a larger screen than your iPhone or iPad. You don't need a special mirror.
Was that you?
You could literally just lean your phone against a mirror and do a workout video or FaceTime a trainer.
Tom, were you quoted in
You mean what I've been saying for like 4 years?
I think this fitness insider is listening to us.
First off, they have to be listening because no one would ever refer to me as a fitness insider. But I'm like, I've been saying this for years.
You have.
It's just a giant TV that they're hanging sideways.
You said it since the very first time you heard about it. You were like, but I don't get it. You kept saying, I don't get it.
It's just a sideways TV. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was always a dumb idea. It's just, for a moment there, connected fitness was so hot, you could sell people anything.
Well,
it's
a lot
Echelon's
of people,
business model.
A lot of people really thought that a mirror was tonal. Like, don't forget that.
And I think, and that's the sad thing, I think mirror hurts tonal.
I know. It's so frustrating. Tonal is like the best strength product on the market, bar none. I don't care what anybody says. Like all those competitors out there, they've all copied tonal. They all try so hard to be tonal. They've got giant footprints compared to tonal. Tonal is the best strength product and has amazing instructors.
Yeah, and what tonal does is not what mirror does at all. But because when you see the screen hanging on your wall, people just think, oh, it's the same thing, but it's a third the price. It is not the same thing.
This is the face I give when people come to our house. Oh, is that one of those mirror things?
Like, no, you need to leave now.
You're not welcome here.
Yes. It's time for you to go. But yeah, I mean, I think people get them confused and they see a tonal, and if they don't really drill down on it, they see a tonal and they're just like, well, why would I pay that much more for something I can do with the mirror? Because what you're doing with the tonal is not in any way, shape, or form like what you're going to do with the mirror. So
that's true.
Apple reportedly has unannounced fitness features in the works for Vision Pro.
I'm excited about this.
Is that their VR thing?
That's their VR thing.
Okay.
And I'm curious about this. I mean, Apple, if you want me to go ahead and try it out, I would be happy to do that.
I'm sure they'll get right on it.
Yeah. But no, I'm really excited to see what they're going to do, because I think there's a lot that's going to happen with VR and fitness. I really think this is just getting started. It's going to be the next connected fitness wave, I believe.
All I can think is I have trouble getting the headphones to stay in. And so
no, that's fair.
Like, are these things you're strapping to your head, they better really stay in place if you want people to exercise while wearing them.
No, that's true. That's true. But I have also heard that the Apple one they've done a lot for comfort. Like they've put a lot of effort into that. Now, I don't know. I haven't tried it, so
we shall see.
That's just what I'm hearing.
I just know, like, when we've played Brian's, it's very big and bulky, and I can't imagine trying to actually like get up and down and
yeah, I know.
You know,
I want to play some Beat Saber. I need to set that up.
We'll have to have him set up before he goes off to college.
I know.
We'll never be able to figure it out. Tempo.
That's a good name I haven't heard in a while.
Is apparently still around, and they have a new take on AI personal training, and they've added 3D body scans and dynamic reps. I don't know why they would ever think I would find a 3D scan of my body a selling point. That's
fair.
The last thing I need is to get a real close-up look at myself in 3D.
No, that's not everybody wants to. Yeah. And the idea is that over time, as your body composition changes, you can see those changes with the scan, right? Like that's the idea of it. And I think that if you had this for tonal, I think you'd love it, because you would have seen really major changes happen over time. I do. But I tell you, I have a little bone to pick with this whole dynamic, this word dynamic that they're putting in here.
Right.
Reps.
Dynamic reps.
So dynamic modes on tonal mean that they do things like on the downstroke or the eccentric mode, it actually pulls down harder. And they also have one that it's like chains mode.
It replicates chains.
And as you go up, like with bicep curls, it makes it harder.
Yeah.
So when they say dynamic and they're adding a rest period in, it's not very dynamic, in my opinion.
I rest just fine.
I mean, you're going to rest when you want to rest.
I rested right before we started recording.
Yeah, you did.
It made you crabby.
Yeah. Must be nice. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah. When it comes to exercise, I can tell you this. I got the rest part down.
Yeah, you do.
Like, I'm really good at the rest part.
Yes, you've mentioned rest a lot this episode.
I took a rest day for the first 50 years of my life. So, like,
you are an expert rester.
I am really good at that. Are there any resting influencers? I could be one of those. I would like to be a resting influencer.
Oh, I think that could be a fun account.
Yeah. But yeah, that seems silly.
I don't know. Just thought I'd mention it. I wasn't too impressed with it, but we'll see.
Well, that's Tempo's brand. Not impressing you.
I mean, a lot of people, this is like the best thing for them because they can't like slap a tonal on their wall for whatever reason.
Right.
So at least they're still able to get some good strength training.
This is the one you lean against the wall.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It has sometimes a little cabinet, or sometimes it's the one that's like the tonal move or whatever, and not tonal, tempo move. It's just a tiny little screen. You just put your phone up there and it does the rest. I don't know. It's like super tiny. But while we're talking about competitors, I just want to remind everyone that I was able to host a tonal talk.
Yeah, we didn't.
It was me.
They made it very clear. Not Tom.
No, they didn't say that. But I was honored to host the Tonal Talk. And it was the first time that Crystal Zell, the new CEO of Tonal, has been interviewed publicly. And people were able to pre-submit their questions. And it was really cool to have somebody at that level take the time to address things that needed to be addressed. It's been weird ever since the LA coaches were let go, and I think it was really nice that they addressed that. Apparently not good enough for some people, but whatever. I really thought that it was great that they took all these pre-submitted questions, and I was most impressed with the fact that they did not weed out any questions.
They answered every one of them.
And there were some really tough questions in there. So if you are curious about where Tonal is headed and you would like to hear more, that entire recording is over on Facebook at the official Tonal community. You can find it there.
Awesome.
In case you missed it.
We would like to issue a public service announcement to remind people that the studio will be closed on July 3rd and 4th.
Yes.
But
Yes, it will.
Just the New York studio.
It is. The
London studio.
No, it's everybody because they're not doing any classes those days. There are no live classes those days. All encore.
I kind of love the fact that they're making the London studio celebrate July 4th.
It is.
That feels a little harsh.
It does.
Feels a little harsh. Too soon, Peloton. Too soon.
You're funny.
We revolted against you, and now we're making you take the day off to celebrate it. We have dance cardio classes.
Well, we already had dance cardio
new
class.
dance cardio
there
classes.
You go.
I did dance cardio by accident once on the Tonal.
Yeah, you were not pleased.
I was not a fan.
I did this once on Peloton with Brian, and it was awful. It was awful. I mean, I had fun.
Yeah.
But it is not for me.
It
It's
just
not
made
for
me mad.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with whatever the move was. And
It doesn't matter how simple it is. It doesn't matter how much they slow it down. I can't do it.
I'm sure if you like to dance, these are great.
Yeah, for sure. People do love them. They really do. And I think that it's great that they're still putting out new classes once a year. So that's cool. But there's 8 new ones. And we've got Leanne Hainsby and Emma Lovewell and Hannah Corbin.
We have new scenic classes for people. Well, we don't, but Peloton does.
It's going to be featuring Jeffrey and Rebecca Kennedy. And those are going to be dropping on Friday, June 30th, as well as all the other things we already talked about, dance cardio. And then I think we already told you about the Pride stuff that was going to be happening on June 30th as well.
And a German artist series.
Yeah, Share. That's just so weird because we've done Share a long time ago.
I guess the Germans haven't.
Also, there's new plans coming from the gym feature. So if you like using the gym feature, there's a whole bunch of new plans dropping as well. So
awesome. Lots
of new stuff hitting very, very soon.
And coming up after this, we're going to talk to Scott Jenkins. He's a big runner, crazy. The
long distance, ultra runner.
He was probably running the whole time we were talking to him.
No, but he was cracking me up the whole time we were talking to him.
He's never not running. So
love our conversation about air conditioning.
Yes. So he's going to explain why they don't need it over there. So stick around and check that out.
Yeah.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Scott Jenkins. Hey, Scott, how's it going?
It's going good, Tom. It's a real pleasure to meet you and Crystal. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you for being here.
We're laughing because we've already had a very odd conversation before.
It was lovely.
Were recording. So we've already bonded.
You've got to put it in the bloopers. Get it in.
I feel like that beginning conversation needs to end up at the end.
Yeah.
That needs to happen. So Scott, I always like to kind of find out where people started their Peloton journey. So I know you've been active for a long time and you've done a lot of things, but when did Peloton specifically come into your life?
It came into my life probably, it was about just before lockdown. I would say 2019. My wife Abby was like, "Hey, we should get the bike. Let's give it a go." And I've always kind of dabbled with cycling, somewhat enjoyed it. I go through phases where I quite enjoy it or quite don't enjoy it. And then I basically decided, yeah, okay, why not? Let's give it a go. And I was really surprised, the build quality on it. I always thought, wow, the screen's great, the classes are great. I like the especially on the tread. I like the guided runs, and also I really like the scenic runs. So I do a lot of those. And that's where my journey started. And then, subsequently went on to get the tread. I was very fortunate, actually. I managed to kind of somehow blag from Peloton that I would, if they would let me buy the tread early when it was released into the UK, I would post about it. And they very kindly let me. And I was blown away by how good it is, to be fair. The treadmill is fantastic. I've had it for, coming up to 3 years now. And I've never had to service it, never had a problem with it. It just runs and runs. I probably should get it serviced before the lease runs out, to be fair, but it's a great bit of kit.
Yeah. I have the Tread Plus, which has never been available in the UK, but nobody can take it from me.
That was a little humble brag right there. And it's never been available.
No.
Never been available. Just like air conditioning. For some reason, we don't have air conditioning. We were talking about this before we came on.
And we were talking about how Americans are whiny little bitches.
Yeah. So
my words, not his. I'm not.
No
I said
comment.
that.
I'm taking fifth. Is that what they're saying?
You can't take the fifth. You're in the. That's an American thing.
That's our thing. You can't take the fifth.
An American show. I can do what I want.
Well, you're going to do whatever you want, regardless. You are going to make a fine American, sir.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to United.
But that says so much about how insidious American pop culture is that you could instantly know what our Pledge of Allegiance is. Right? Like, we could never. I don't even know if you guys have one.
I don't know. I really don't know if we have one or not. I've maybe God Save the King. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's got to be a weird thing to start saying God Save the King instead of Queen. That's a weird.
Yeah.
That would have to be a weird shift after all these years.
That it is a weird shift, actually, and it's something that I thought about for the very first time yesterday. I was watching the FA Cup final. So the FA Cup is very similar to the Premier League. It's the same teams where they compete in this cup competition, but you can play teams from the lower divisions and so on and so forth. And at the end, they have the final in Wembley Stadium. It's a little bit like a mini Super Bowl sort of situation, and they all sing the national anthem. That was the first time I've seen it properly sung at a big event like that, where they changed the words to God Save the King. And it does make you think a little bit, doesn't it? You got to think that the singers have got to get that right as well. Don't mess that one up.
That's true. I mean, because you figure most of them singing
they've been doing it for a long time,
their entire lives, right? They've never. There's very few people that probably remember a time when there was a king. Do you think they all
had sticky notes in front of them? King, say king.
Put it on the big screen.
There you go.
We're massively advanced, apart from when it comes to air conditioning or something.
All I could think about is how much trouble I had, especially at first when we started this podcast, of not saying real spoilers.
Because that's his other podcast.
That's my other podcast. Yeah. And I still every once in a while will slip up, but and I've done it over there and said the clip out instead of real spoilers. But it's it takes a minute.
Yeah.
Do you know, just talking about national anthems and things like that, I'm sure you do this as well. You go onto YouTube sometimes and you watch stuff and you go down a right wormhole.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I really like the country singer, Chris Stapleton.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's got one of the
We've
best
seen him.
voices.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see him live. Generally would. I love the song Tennessee Whiskey.
Yes.
But I saw him on a YouTube clip singing the United States Star Spangled Banner anthem before the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, I'm not from there, but I had goosebumps listening to him sing. That guy is unbelievable. That was probably one of the best renditions of your anthem I think I've ever seen.
His voice just has this yearning that matches the national anthem. That soulfulness that comes with it. He has an amazing voice. Yeah.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to see him right as he was blowing up. He was playing a theater in town that seats about 4,000 people, which he would never play someplace that small anymore.
Yeah.
And we saw
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we get lucky.
What was he like live? I'm intrigued to know.
Amazing.
He was great. I mean, he sounds every bit as good as the record. There is no trickery going on there.
He's so chill. He's not running around the stage. He's just and I will stand here and have my amazing voice talk for me. And that's it. It's just him in a show. And and I don't mean that it's not full of energy. It's just this quiet energy. It's really cool. It's neat.
I guess when you got a voice that good, you don't need to do anything else.
That's true.
It's fascinating the way some artists run all over the stage. Some just stand there. But the true superstars, even if they just stand there, for some reason, they still hold you in a way that somebody with less charisma could run all over the place. And you're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, people have presence.
Absolutely captivating. Another YouTube clip I saw recently was Ed Sheeran and Luke Combs singing together, and I was like, "Wow, that's a cool combo." I'd like now to see Ed Sheeran and Chris Stapleton.
Oh, yeah.
They did a song a couple of years back, but very cool, very cool.
Yeah, we saw Luke Combs too because he played.
Yeah, he played at your arena.
I book concerts for a living, and I actually booked a Luke Combs show. And
we saw him.
Can you book me Chris Stapleton, please, somewhere in London?
I wish.
Really helpful.
I got Luke Combs. I got lucky. I booked him like 9 months before he blew up. So by the time he played my arena, he had no business playing my arena. He should have been in a place twice the size.
Yeah.
And so
true.
I
his
got
is like
lucky.
a tiny arena. Like a tiny
it's called a mid-size arena. So it sits about, on a show like that, it'll sit about 7,500.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'd love to see Luke Combs too.
Yeah, he's really good.
Well, if you ever make it stateside, we'll do our best to hook you up. Absolutely.
Yeah, hook me up with Luke Combs and maybe some air conditioning at the concert.
You'll need it here.
You will. You will. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you have a kind of relationship with bikes, but when did you start running? That's kind of been a big thing in your life, right?
Yeah, it kind of always has been, I guess. When I was younger, I did running in high school, and I thought like 1,500 meters was quite a long way to run. And then as you kind of get older, you learn different perspectives and different boundaries, I guess. And I went to playing football, or soccer, as you guys call it, and essentially was doing that up until about the age of 30. And then I rediscovered running, got back into it, and basically did a couple of half marathons. And about that time, I was working in a gym in South Wales, where I'm from. And this guy used to come in, this guy called Colin, and he was like the most positive guy. It would be chucking it down with rain, which is why we don't need the air conditioning. He'd be chucking it down with rain. And ultimately, like, he would always be so positive. And the one day he came in and I was like, mate, I've got to ask you, why are you so positive? You know, every time I see you, you've always got a smile on your face. He said, well, you know, I've been through a cardiac event. I think he'd had a triple bypass.
Oh, whoa.
He said to me, look, I feel like I've got a second chance at life. And it didn't hit me immediately. I was like, oh, you know, fair enough. And then over the course of the next couple of weeks, it kind of got me thinking, well, what am I doing with my own life that when I get to that kind of age and you get older, that you're going to look back on with some fondness and think, wow, yeah, okay, I did a bit. So ultimately, it went from 0 to 100 is the long story short. So me and my brother ended up getting on a plane to run 2,000 miles across the US with our friend Rusty from Texas. So we ran from Boston in Massachusetts to Austin in Texas. We did a marathon a day for 75 days. Whoa. Still one of the biggest challenges I think I've ever done, but so exciting too, and a great way to see your country, which is, you know, how I've ended up, I think, visiting about 44 states over the years. So,
wow.
That's my kind of relationship with how running started, and then it's gone on into different ultra marathons and lots of different adventures.
75 in 75 days. That's so was. What was the hardest one? The last one? Was it the second to last one? Like,
yeah.
Like not even physically difficult, although I'm sure it was, but psychologically, I would think, like, at some point, how do you not hit a wall in your head?
I think, yeah, you hit many walls on a kind of daily basis, and they come in different forms, and it's really interesting. I think probably the first 2 weeks were the hardest, because you kind of put yourself out there, and granted, social media wasn't as big then as it is now, but you kind of put yourself out there and say, I'm doing this run for charity. And I always do my runs for charity. And basically, I realized at that point, we're 2 weeks in, I'm committed. I haven't got a flight until I get back to Texas. So we got to do this thing. And my body was, you know, breaking down. My Achilles hurt, my knees hurt, everything hurt. And then after about that 2 week period, really strangely, it just became like, oh, this is what your body's meant to do. And when you think about it, you know, now I'm a bit older and I reflect on it, I you know, that's what we were designed to do. We weren't designed to sit at a desk all day, typing away, or sat in our cars. And I genuinely believe that somewhere along the way, humans have mistaken comfort for happiness. And going out and having an adventure like that is a real kind of visceral experience. And for me, it was just, those 2 weeks were really difficult. And then after that, many different challenges along the way, but the body kind of held up. And the most painful thing on the daily occurrence was the Achilles tendons. When you get out of bed every morning, there was no elasticity or kind of, just looseness in them, I suppose. They would always be stiff, always be hurting. But once you start moving a little bit, they'd loosen up. And I think just taking it day by day, half marathon by half marathon throughout the day, so to speak, we just managed to get it done. And we learned a lot along the way, to say the least.
Were there 75 like official marathons you could run, or would some days you just have to go out and be like, we're just running one, the two of us, or however many people were in your group?
It was three of us. So my brother Reese, our friend Rusty, and myself. And we literally, this was iPhone 2 or iPhone 1 or whatever it was. So we had Google Maps on it. And we literally we went to a bar in Boston. It was called McGreevy's then. And we said, right, we're going to start here. It's a pub. We're British. You normally
found a pub that was 26.2 miles away.
That's it. Yeah. I would probably go back and do exactly that. It's a good suggestion.
He's like, son of a bitch. Why am I just now thinking of that?
Why did you think of that?
You said you were
come
British.
With us next time.
Tom might drive slowly next to you.
Yeah, exactly. Can you hand me another beer? I got previous for that. So basically, we found 26.2 miles away and went to the nearest town. We didn't really know where we were going to stay, where our meals were coming from. And we'd go into town and tell a motel or two, hey, look, we're doing this run across the States. Any chance you could put us up for the night or give us a discount for a night? And I think the wonderful thing, for me, was just so many cool people we met along the way that were, complete strangers that wanted to help us out of kindness, whether that was giving us a meal or making a donation to charity, or, slept on the floor of a Baptist church in Tennessee one night, and just loads of little stories like that. So it was a great experience and a great way to see your country as well.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Did you train for this at all? Or were you just like, oh, let's just do this? Okay.
Yeah. I did train for it, but I think we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, and I'm not sure anyone really truly does until you start something like that. We had jobs, we were working and trying to train outside of that, but I can tell you after the third or fourth marathon in a row, you certainly realize the reality of the situation there and then. And
you're like, we did it 4 marathons in 4 days.
71 to go.
We're all done. What? We never said 75. What?
But things like weather.
7.5.
Yeah.
Put a decimal in.
7.5, 7.5.
No,
it's all
we may
the
as well
same.
do it now. We'll just do it. It's fine.
But it does boggle the mind, all the things that could go wrong. Like you could get, you're traveling in all kinds of different weather. You're traveling in all kinds of different terrain. You're traveling parts that have mountains and that are just hilly or flat, and different weather conditions. I just can't even imagine how you did that just day after day after day. That just sounds tough.
I was going to say awful. That was the Mad Lib in my head. Awful?
Yeah.
Sounds awful.
50% tough, 50% crazy, probably.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're just on the bottom level. All you really care about is not dying, having somewhere to eat, having somewhere to sleep. And it would
and a pub.
pick you up knowing that you had a hotel room for the night already sorted during the day, or you knew what you were going to have for dinner. We were young. We didn't have loads of money. We were just trying to figure it out on the fly. And I think the most dangerous things on the daily occurrence were obviously the traffic, because you don't really expect to see many people running down the roads in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania or Ohio, or wherever it is. And then dogs in Kentucky. They're not the most friendly bunch of dogs I've ever met in Kentucky, and the people there were lovely, but it seemed to be every house liked to have a dog that they would just let roam around the land, and you'd run past, and it would never be like, oh, look at that nice French bulldog, or look at that nice pug. It would always be like, oh, look at that nice Rottweilers can take my leg off. It was that kind of scenario. Certainly made you run quicker, though.
Yeah. Got a PR?
Yeah, got a PR, dog-induced PR. Yeah,
Still counts. It's not like a performance enhancing dog.
Oh, that's a whole new thing. I like that. You could put it behind runners at the Olympics. And
see how if they can go faster.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. What could go wrong?
Lance Armstrong could start winning again.
Oh my God.
He could be back.
So one of the questions on here is, when did you start ultra marathons? And from the sounds of it, I'm going to say day 6.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
When did I start ultra marathon running? I suppose it was around about 2012, something like that, where I started doing like 50Ks or 30 milers and things like that. And then, I moved roles. I moved into working in orthopedics for Johnson & Johnson. And obviously, working in a corporation like that, your annual leave, you want to make the most of it. And I still wanted to make sure that I was using my annual leave to do good, so that when I'm older in life, I can look back and think, right, I had an adventure, but I did some good along the way.
And it's not like you're going to get 75 days of PTO.
yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to look back on, and it still is. I want to look back and go, I had an adventure with my friends, my family, my colleagues, and I did some good at the same time. And basically, from there, me and my brother, we went and cycled from Turin in Italy to Cardiff in Wales, which is 1,000 miles. And then we got into ultra running and did a run across Death Valley in California in July, which was, as you can imagine, rather warm. We did that twice for charity, ran across Iceland, and we were creating our own kind of unique events and challenges. And then I started learning about these, 100, 200 mile distance races and, or 250 mile distances even. So I just, kind of found myself toeing the start line of these crazy races all over the world. And I absolutely love it. Love it.
Now, you said that you do this for charity. You always run for charity. Do you have like one charity that you focus on, or do you spread it around, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I do. And thank you so much for asking. I really appreciate it. So I support a charity called Operation Smile. So Operation Smile performs surgical intervention for children with cleft lips and cleft palates all around the world. When I did my fundraising run back in 2015 and 2016 in Death Valley, basically I raised money for Operation Smile, and they had this really great video, great marketing, but basically it was Operation Smile, but coupled with like a Coldplay song. So, the Coldplay song, Get You by the Heartstrings every time. So like, I'm sold on what this charity does. And later that year, they very kindly sent me to a program in Ethiopia, in a small town called Mekele in Ethiopia. And I got to see firsthand the work that they do. And it changed people's lives. And, for the cost of £150 or what is that, $180, something like that, you can perform surgery that, gives somebody the opportunity to smile. And I just think that it's a great number and a great fact. And, every time you raise that, you've changed someone's life, hopefully. So that's why I support this great charity.
That's wonderful.
It also gives you insight into like what the markup is here.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
It's like, if you had that done here, or in the UK, I mean, it would, I know you have socialized medicine, but there's still an expense associated with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's probably $20,000-$30,000. Like, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure and honor earlier this year of meeting the founder of the charity, and Dr. Bill McGee and his wife, Kathy McGee, in New Jersey. And just listening to him talk, he never realized the size of the problem until he went to the Philippines. And when he was out there, he was helping some local hospitals performing surgery, and people realized that he could do cleft surgery. So all of a sudden they were overwhelmed by thousands of people turning up this one hospital.
Oh, wow.
And he thought, you know what, I need to start a charity to support this and keep going back. And that's how the charity started.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
It really is.
Yeah.
Is there anything the Peloton community can do to support you? Like, do you have like a link or something that people can
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And thank you again for asking. So, I am running the Triple Crown of 200 milers this summer in the United States. So the Triple Crown of 200s, for people who don't know, are free 200-mile races that are non-stop. So once you start, you're on the clock. It's up to you if you decide to rest or take a break, whatever it might be. So that is the Tahoe 200 on the 14th of July. 14th, 21st. I better get a date right. Make sure I start at the right time.
Yeah.
I might come in dead last. Start a week later.
Or first, depending. Yeah.
21st of July. 21st of July. I will be there. I'm not going to start a week early. That would be cheating. So 21st July, Tahoe 200. Bigfoot 200 is now on the 11th of August. So I've got less than 2 weeks to be able to recover to run another 200-mile race. The reason for that was they had so much snow in Tahoe this year, hasn't melted. All the bears are pissed off. So basically, they've brought the races closer together. And then the third one of them is the Moab 240 in Utah in October. I've got a fundraising page link, which is on my Instagram bio. Is that what they call it these days?
Yes.
And it takes you through to my fundraising page. So if you don't mind, my Instagram is Scott, double T, and then J, and then Jenkins, if anyone wants to check it out.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah,
that's wonderful.
absolutely.
I'm also curious about, now you have a Peloton tread, you mentioned that, and you clearly use it a lot, but there are a lot of people that are, elite runners that kind of scoff at using treadmills to train for such long distances. And so I'm really curious about your thoughts on that.
It's a great question as well. And firstly, I don't class myself as anything as such as elite, but I don't know
anybody that runs 600 miles in a summer. I'm going to go ahead and count that, but you do you.
That's very kind. Thank you. So basically, I really like the tread, and the reason why is that I live in London. As you can imagine, it's fairly flat around here. There's not much elevation, and certainly in the Midwest is fairly similar where you guys are from. There's not many mountains around here. So basically, what I will do is I'll use the incline a lot on the tread, and I'll use the scenic runs, or I'll jump into a class, and basically have a bit of flexibility to my training that otherwise I couldn't get. So, I can go on the tread for an hour and get over 1,000 foot of elevation. For me to do that round here would take me so much longer because there's simply not enough hills. And also I would just end up running the same hill back and forth. So this makes it more interesting. I think the second thing is and this is a little bit more sadistic, I suppose, in a way. If you run on the treadmill a lot, you don't get the excitement of running on the trail. Now, if you think about that for a second, I am literally, 6 weeks out from Tahoe 200, and I've been on the trail a little bit, but the weather, unsurprisingly, has been chucking it down with rain for most of the year so far in London, and the weather's been terrible, and really muddy trails on the treadmill and get quality miles in. But also, when it comes to running the Tahoe 200, I'm going to be so excited because I'm outside, I'm in the mountains, I got this beautiful scenery, and that will motivate me. So almost you've had a little bit of sensory deprivation in a way.
Yeah.
And then I've done something else, which is, again, probably another level of sadism. Not that I'm into that stuff, but what I would say is...
no wonder.
You never know. So I have, and it was my wife's suggestion, I'm not sure if she's trying to kill me or not, but basically the heating tiles that you can get from Bikram Yoga, you can buy those off the internet. So I bought 2 of those and installed them over the treadmill in the gym. And now I can heat the treadmill up to about 60 degrees Celsius, which is well over 120 Fahrenheit. I think it may even be 130. And the hottest I've ever had it in there is 52. And I did an hour. And I can tell you it was pretty horrible, to say the least.
Oh, my God.
Sounds it. I'm sweating just listening to that.
You come to London, come and have a run. You'll love it.
And we're Americans. We have the air conditioning.
Just to clarify, there is absolutely no air conditioning.
So
how long does it take the room to cool back down?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So you put these heat tiles on, you're making the whole house miserable when you do that, right?
It's in the garage.
Oh.
It's in the garage.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I turned the garage into a garage. I turned the garage into a gym. I've got that. I've nailed it.
You did.
You did nail
you
it.
sounded like you were from the South too.
You
Like
did.
you didn't just say garage. You were like garage.
Garage.
Yeah, I remember.
By the way, feel free to like have a go at a British accent. I don't mind.
No, I'm not going to try.
we would.
But it
It's
just
not
made me
good.
think of a moment. A show I used to watch as a kid. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the one that they made for the BBC, not the lousy movie. And there's a scene where there's two security guards chasing the heroes of the show, right? And they have American accents, but they're clearly the actors are British. And so like the one guy, the only way he knows how to do an American accent is to impersonate John Wayne. And so he's like doing this really bad John. It took me like 3 watches before I finally figured out what I was doing. I was like, this guy, he can't hold an accent without being John Wayne. Like that's his grounding for holding the accent. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
give me a line and I'll try my best. Give me
Okay.
like a quintessential American line. I'll try my best without trying to offend anyone. I'm sorry. in advance.
Something quintessentially
All I can-
American.
all I can think
I
of is-
have a gun in the trunk.
I got a gun in my trunk.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
That was a proper Southern drawl,
It
I think.
was. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So do feel free, and if any of your listeners want to, chip in with some British accents, feel free, because we all talk like Mary Poppins, a bit like that, or like Jason Statham.
That's so funny. Tom does have a running joke that he calls the UK uck.
Yeah, I call it the uck.
He calls it the uck.
The uck. Over in the uck. Yeah.
And I can tell you, it feels pretty uck when you're trying to sleep with no air conditioning.
I
know,
bet.
it's running
Especially when you
theme for the
heat
show,
your
but-
house up to 60
Yeah. Do you have any, just out of interest, do you have any sponsors that do air conditioning on the show that are interested to get into the UK market? Hit me up.
That's a good thought.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Circling back around to the beginning, you were talking about how you've had your tread for so long and that you haven't had to have it serviced, that it's still doing great. And I'm like, hearing how much you run, that puts that sort of endorsement in a totally different stratosphere, right?
It really
because
does.
You're not somebody that's running 3 or 4 miles a week on your tread, right? Like you're putting hundreds of miles a week probably, or at least a month on your tread. Like,
Yeah, I would say on the tread the week at the moment, I'm probably averaging about 30 miles a week, I would say. And then the rest are outdoors. In the winter, it's higher.
yeah.
And not only that, like I was a little bit cautious about putting the heaters on at first because I'm like,
Yeah.
is that going to really fry the insides of it? Didn't bother it, not one bit. So yeah, it's a wicked endorsement for that product. It really is.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to your classes, I know earlier you said you do a lot of scenic classes, but like when you take classes, do you know in your mind, this is what I'm going to do today? Like I'm going to do this many miles at this speed, or, I'm going to add in all hills or whatever. Or do you kind of follow
The instructor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this is something that I struggle with. So sometimes I jump on, and my friend Susie Chan, you probably know Susie. She's
Love
a Peloton
Susie,
instructor.
one of my favorite instructors. I love her so
She's
much.
a legend, absolute legend. And what she's like on the Peloton screen is exactly what she's like in real life as well. Just such a great runner and a great person too, and just a great personality to a very like vibrant and happy person. But basically, I do sometimes struggle because I'm like, I'll do a class and then I'm like, do I follow the instructor or do I follow my training program? Sometimes you get carried away with the music and you're like, yeah, I'm following the instructor. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't do what was on my plan. So that's why I end up like jumping back to the scenic runs. And I was thinking this last night as well, like the US is such a beautiful country. It really is. Like the scenery you have and the diversity of it is absolutely amazing. It's only when you stop and think about it and all the many national parks that you've got and you see them on the tread screen, you're like, wow, I'd love to visit some of these places one day, Yeah,
definitely. We try to get to a lot of different places because we're well, we like to travel in general, but we haven't made it outside of we have never been to Europe, and that's one place like there's a lot there that we want to do. But
you need to come to London anytime.
I would absolutely love to. It's like so hard to get places because when you live in the middle of the United States, like whenever when you go to a flight, it's like 8 million flights before you actually get where you want to go.
Louis, so St. Louis isn't a major hub anymore like it was when I was a kid. Yeah. And so it's like, if you like, we have to it's always like to go internationally, it's always at least 2 flights, sometimes 3.
Yeah. So it just takes a lot of time to get over there, but you know all about it because you come the other way.
Yeah.
So,
And as Americans, we have 0 patience.
Right. Yeah.
I take the 5th again.
Yeah.
Next question.
But we do have guns in our trunks. So
comment on the guns. Next question.
You already commented on it.
We do not.
You we have it on tape.
Just for the record, we do not have guns in our trunk, but a lot of Americans do. So you said you run about 30 miles on your tread during this time of year. The rest are outdoors. How many miles are you running this? Like when you're ramping up to something like a 200-mile run, how many miles a week total are you doing?
At the moment, I'm probably on about 60 miles a week. It'll get to about 80 or 90 in the next 2 weeks or so, and then it'll come down a little bit. I've got one weekend coming up, which has got like a 30-mile day, then a 30-mile day the day after. I toyed with doing the 62-miler on the one day, and then just take the Sunday to have a beer and chill out and have a barbecue. And then my coach was like, no, I want you to do the 30 miles on the Saturday and the 30 miles on the Sunday because he thinks that it'll be a better response for me to kind of get the rest in, be able to go the next day again, and then obviously be able to continue high quality training throughout the week. Other than, if I did the 100K on its own or the 62 miles on its own, it might take me 2 weeks to recover from that. So, I'm not going to do that. But I'm coached by a guy called Jeff Browning, who's from Flagstaff down in Arizona. And he's taught me a lot of cool stuff. And a lot of the workouts that I do on the treadmill or outdoors are all created by him. And always keeps it interesting for sure.
Does he train you from Flagstaff or does he live in London?
No, he trains me from Flagstaff.
So cool.
It's really cool. And we get on really well. He's I guess you call us veteran runners now. I've got a bit of grey hair going on. He's
at least you got it.
Yeah. For now.
I'd be happy to have gray hair as long as I had hair.
Look what not having air conditioning could have gotten you, Tom.
Yeah. Oh, man. You know what? Small price.
Taking it off.
Small price to pay. So do you just run or do you do any like strength training or anything like that?
I do tons of strength training as well. I absolutely love it. I've got a weight rack set up in the same gym with the treadmill. And I've just, to be honest, it was just a ramshackle garage that we've just kind of like added bits to. The first bit of kit was the tread and then started adding different bits and weights into it. And I do some kind of cool workouts there that are like different, but also try to replicate some of the conditions that you're facing in the mountains. Things like stepping up onto a big box, wearing a weighted vest, power hiking on the treadmill as well. I do a bit of that. Loads of different things. It gives me good variety in my workouts. And I think you need that when you're doing a bit on the treadmill or quite a bit on the treadmill and mixing it up with the weights. Variety keeps it interesting, I suppose.
So do you have like a day job that you do in addition to all these things?
Yeah,
because
like,
I don't know where you have time to do all this training.
Have you ever actually met your wife or how does that work?
I think she likes keeping it that way, to be honest.
Yeah. I had a wife like that.
I wonder why when I do these 200-mile races, she keeps pulling out these life insurance forms. I'm like, what's with that?
My wife is such a fan. She always asks for an autograph before I ever leave whenever I leave for a race.
She just wants evidence that I started this race. I don't know. Sorry, what was the question?
Where do you find the time? It's a lot of time. Yeah.
9 to 5, the 9 to 5. So my 9 to 5 is that I work for Johnson & Johnson in orthopedics. The ironic part of that is that I specialize in hip and knee replacement. So
I get a discount.
See what my future looks like, basically.
Man, when I hear 75 marathons in 75 days, when I hear ultra marathon, when I hear just like, oh, maybe I'll do 60 today so I can take the day off, I'm surprised you don't work for Johnson & Johnson & Johnson.
I seriously don't know. I mean, I know you said you worked for Johnson & Johnson earlier, but like I just assumed you didn't anymore. I just don't know how you have time to train.
I think she's saying the gray hair. She assumed you were retired. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. Careful, he's got a gun in his trunk, honey. He said it 3 times.
I got arrested for doing that in London. You can't do it.
Oh, that's true.
But no, it's just good planning, really. I don't beat myself up if I miss a session. I just go back and try and pick it up on the weekend. And, my coach knows my job is, for a large corporate like J&J, is pretty intense and full on. But I just make sure that I get my long runs in on the weekends, and then during the week I either run first thing in the morning before work or in the evening, do my strength and conditioning. If I have got a bit of a longer run during the week, I'll split it, and maybe in the morning I'll do a couple of miles on the treadmill, and then in the evening go and get them out on the road or in the local park, something like that. It's just good planning, really, and making sure that, I've got to pay the bills first and do the day job first, which I love as well. And it's a nice balance because I feel like I've learned so much from ultra running that I've been able to bring into business, and probably vice versa in terms of like planning for races and stuff from a business perspective and applying it with spreadsheets to my training and also my kit and stuff like that. But I guess, the easiest way to kind of give a parallel between the two is if you're doing an ultra marathon, a 100-miler or a 200-miler, it's a massive goal, and you've got to break it down into bite-sized chunks. And along the way that there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. And actually the key to finishing that race is making sure you don't get too carried away with the ups and too despondent with the downs. Keep it on a level and, just get back up and keep moving forward when the obstacles hit you. And when you think about a sales process, I manage a sales team of 10 people in the city of London. It's competitive. It's the same thing. You've got a big account goal. You want to win an account. It may take like 2 years. And you've got all these things to do. You've got to train surgeons. You've got to review clinical literature. You've got to get the prices right. All these things, and it's going to be obstacles, ups and downs along the way. And that's very similar to ultra running in a way. So I think the ultra running has taught me the patience to put problems into perspective to reach a positive outcome in both, I suppose.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm interested that it's like B2B sales, because when I was like, how hard is it to sell a hip to a guy who doesn't have a hip? I'd be like, yes.
I can see you can't walk.
Yes.
Would you like a new hip?
I see you lying on the ground there. I was thinking I could interest you in a hip replacement.
Would you be interested? No, it's going to cost you $30,000.
I've heard amazing things about those the new hip joint the new hip ones that are like, I can't remember what material they're made out of, but like we had somebody on not too long ago that had one, and they were just so excited about the new material and how great
amazing.
It was.
The outcomes for hip patients are phenomenal. They call it the silent hip, because patients have their hips replaced and they forget that they've been done. It's a ball and socket joint, and once it's done, you get a ceramic on ceramic or a metal on polyethylene bearing, and patients do really, really well. And I think knee arthroplasty is getting to the same place as well now, which is really exciting. And the other step forward is starting to see digital robotics in surgery as well, which is fascinating. I think that's the next frontier for orthopedic surgery.
Wow.
Oh, I could be a cyborg.
Not AI though. It's going to take over the world and kill us all, apparently.
I mean, what you going to do? It's going to go sometime, right? I one more question about your training, though, your schedule. How many hours a week are we talking that you're training? Because like I'm a slow runner, like really slow. I was just
saying, like you running 30 miles would be like 9 hours.
Exactly.
Him running 30 hours is probably like 2.5.
That's why I want to put it in perspective. I want to.
I wish. That's a good question. I reckon I do probably an hour a day on average of strength and conditioning pretty much every day, just because I enjoy it. And even when I go into the treadmill sessions, I just kind of like, well, I'll throw a few weights around while I'm here. And then the running depends what's on my plan. Like Today I did 15 miles. I had to drive an hour down to what we call the Surrey Hills. So there are actually some hills out there which you can run up and down, which is great. So I did 15 miles there. That was another 3 hours, and then because there's a lot of elevation, and it's all on trail or off trail kind of stuff. And then yesterday I did 10. And then during the week, I got the other miles in as well. So, yeah, it's hard to say, really. But I just execute whatever's in my plan distance-wise.
It's like, don't think about it. You just do it.
Yeah. And again, it's like those, like we just talked about a minute ago, you've got those obstacles along the way and those challenges to overcome. And it's a little bit like that with the training side of things, because after a while, you've run every route that you can possibly think of. And you're like, right, okay, how do you stop yourself getting bored? Well, you just got to put things in perspective, just execute on the plan and keep moving forward, I guess.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, what is your leaderboard name?
Scott J. Jenkins, same as Instagram. Really original, I am.
It's called consistent branding.
Yes.
So we go with that.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Consistent branding and marketing is wonderful. And wouldn't that tie in lovely with an air conditioning company?
It would. Absolutely.
So, do you have a preferred instructor?
Yeah, I've got to say Susie Chan. She's my favorite, mate.
Well, that's understandable.
Christie's a big fan as well.
I am a huge fan of Susie's. I love her so much. I hope someday to get to meet her. She's just amazing.
I hope you do too. I hope you can come over and meet her and maybe do one of her classes. I was lucky enough to go a month ago to her New Wave class, which is so cool because it's all 80s songs, and I'm an 80s child, so I was absolutely loving it. You guys have got to come over and check it out. It's so cool.
It's always been a dream of mine to sit in the lobby of the London studio.
So. He doesn't do any workouts for Peloton at all. None. He does no running, but he does strength train, but that's all he
Finally.
does. So
what about the rower? The rower's out over there.
He won't do it.
Yeah.
He won't do it. No. Yeah.
We're still waiting on the rower to arrive in the UK, but that'll be exciting.
It'll be very exciting. Very exciting. I hope that happens this year. I hope it happens pretty soon. Like I feel like it's going to happen pretty soon based on everything.
I was over to talk at the US running show in Boston back in February, and we went out for a drink the night before, just one or two. But my wife's from Scotland, so one or two is maybe slightly more than that. And as we were walking our way back through the mall, we saw the Peloton store, and they had the rower kind of shining in the window, like, oh,
yes.
I was like, you should go and try it. And she was like, yeah, that'll be a great idea. I'll go and try it now. So she's a couple of drinks deep, gets on the rower. I'm like, mate, can you set her up with 1,000 meters here? I want to see how quick she can do it. Guy's like, yeah, sure, no problem, buddy. So he sets it up. She gets into it. She's like, oh, I'm knackered. You're going to need to take over. I'm like, not a chance. So we have test rode the rower, and it is actually quite good, to be fair. It looks really good.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I hope you guys get it pretty soon. I hope that, I think it'll sell well.
And one cool little story about the drinks part, actually. So when I got invited to talk at the run show in Boston, I obviously knew that that's where we started the 2,000-mile run. And I went over, it was only for like 3 days. And I thought, I wonder if that bar's still there, that we went to like 21, no, not 21, like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And it was. And the really cool thing was like, it was literally right across the street from the place where I was talking at the Run Show USA. So we went across, and that's why we went and had a couple of beers. And I think the nice thing about it is that if you told me 11 years earlier that one day you'll be across the street at Heinz Convention Center talking at the Run Show, I would never have believed you. And I think the only way that I've been able to accomplish that is just through kind of getting out there and trying to push myself to have an adventure and do some good, I guess.
It would have been great if you would have got all your running stuff on and then like splashed your face so you look nice and sweaty, and then you just run into that bar and you're like, okay, I'm one down.
Let's go again. Let's go.
Do you still run with your brother? Like all these adventures? Do you still do all that stuff with your brother?
Yeah, we try to. So we both applied to Badwater this year. We didn't get in, unfortunately, but we'd love to do that race together one year, which would be really cool. My brother still lives in Wales, so I don't get to run with him that often. But when I do, it's really nice and really special because I guess you don't see many kind of siblings going out and running 100 miles or 2,000 miles together. So,
unless they're Siamese.
Oh my God, that's a really good point. Yeah. You do that, and the other one didn't. That's terrible.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, but they get really fit in the process.
That's true.
That's true.
Silver lining.
I feel like we're gonna get letters now.
I know. At Tom,
No
not
comment.
me.
Fifth Amendment.
Yes. We're supposed to say conjoined. So
Yes.
my
Is that what they
apologies.
say? Is it conjoined now?
Yeah,
Is that
conjoined,
it's
yes.
conjoined.
So
the
my
word karate is spoken and conjoined is the word.
Yes.
So my
Okay.
apologies
No.
to the conjoined community.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
well, on that note, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us. This has
Yes.
been a lot of fun.
It has. Thank
It's
you
been
so
amazing.
much.
It's been really good to meet you guys. And I'm just so grateful for you having me on and asking these questions. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we really appreciate you and all the good you've done and all the money you've raised over the years. And thank you for all that you're doing. That's really, really cool. And it's really inspiring to a lot of people. So thank you for taking the time to share it.
Thank you. That's really kind of you. I just want to, like I say, just want to have that adventure and try and use my time to do some good. And if I can make one person's journey better through life, then I think that's an all right goal to accomplish. So I'll just keep trying to do that.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
The Clip Out.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. Until next week, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/CrystalDO'Keefe. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and the Peloton leaderboard at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Don't forget you can watch these on YouTube. Hopefully they cut out all the parts where you were crabby with me.
Let's hope.
If the show's 3 minutes this week. So
It wasn't that bad.
so anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling
And running.
and rowing.